off, I mean. Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right.
I like your background.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Is this your first time going live on here?
Um, on this page, yes, I did it for the movie review channel last week.
Nice. This
Yeah,
is my first time going live at all, so I'm really scared.
me too. You're frozen. I don't know if that might just be me though, but I can hear you okay.
Let's see. Blocked camera.
We gotta wait a couple of minutes for people to join anyway. If you're trickling in, welcome to this stream.
Can you see me now?
Now it's still fresh. It might just be on my end.
Okay, I don't have like a thumbnail of myself, but I have like everything blocked. It might just be blocked. Maybe if I try clicking out and coming back, should I try that?
If you want to.
Okay. Or let me try this.
Oh. Don't look at that. We'll be back in a second. Well, anyways, hi. Welcome. Oh, I got a thing. Ping. Yep. All right. Hello. Sorry about that. Hi. Welcome to my first stream on 330. Like I said, I'm Rachel, and this is my first stream with people on 330. But I have done some stuff with Rover City reviews, and I'm really excited to be here. Let me just let's just try to get this rolling. Again, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but nothing we can't handle. Right. But yeah, today we're going to be doing an interview with Akron Houses. They are an Instagram post. Britny is the person behind the page. We're just going to be talking about, how she got started, the page itself, some different Akron house things. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to stick around. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. There
Hi.
you go.
Sorry, can you hear me and see me now?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. We should be used to this by now, but we're not.
It's fine. All right, perfect. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
If you want, we can wait a couple more minutes for more people to join. I usually like to start about 5 minutes after, which is now, but if you, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I've never done this at all, even like with friends, so.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
I promise it won't be too hard.
I'm glad you're like so relaxed because I'm like, I don't know how serious this is going to be.
It'll be a breeze, I promise. All right.
Great.
Cool. If you want, we can get started. If you're down for that. Perfect. If you want, do you want to go ahead and start by introducing yourself?
My name's Britny. I started a Instagram account called Akron Houses. That's the focus of this interview, I guess. I am a writer, and that's kind of, I think, the impetus of this, and an Akronite. I work for a marketing company now, but I have a background in journalism, so I think that's why I'm so like weirded out being on this side of the thing, usually on your
For sure.
side. Um, but yeah, lifelong Akronite and longtime fan of the page. So
Perfect. Well, that's always good to
yeah.
hear. Welcome to the show. I know that Hank always starts off these interviews with the tale as old as time question. What is your 330 story? Have you always lived in Akron? Grew up here? Did you move here from somewhere else? What's up?
Yeah, I actually saw
Oh,
his interview with you and the other intern doing 330 story, so that was a good intro. Um, Mine is I'm from here, born and raised here. I'm from Portage Lakes. Lived here all my life, with the exception of I lived in New York for college for 4 years. So, um, yeah, pretty diehard.
interesting. Very cool. What was New York like?
Very different. It's been a good like perspective, especially now, like when I'm thinking about Akron houses constantly, because New York is such a whole different world real estate wise. But
Mhm.
it was really fun being 18 to 21 or 22 living in New York. My sister and I both moved there together, and she lived there for like 10 years. And so I was back and forth for a bit. But she's back here now, and I'm here. So, and my husband and I bought a house in Holland Square in 2014. So we're here for good.
Perfect. Sorry, I just thought it was interesting because I'm here in Akron for college, and I thought it was interesting to know more about you in college. So yeah,
Yeah,
more of a personal question. Sorry.
that's
So I already know the answer to this, but what made you want to start talking about Akron houses? Why did you start your Instagram
so this
page?
definitely was like totally born out of like quarantine boredom. I mean, I've always been really interested in Akron houses. Like I said, my husband and I bought we have a 1928 Tudor, live in Helen Square. But like one of the first books I got when quarantine hit was it's a book called A Field Guide to American Houses, and it's basically just like a visual like cheat sheet for understanding different styles of houses. And since we're like walking 24/7 because we have nothing to do during quarantine and taking drives and stuff, um, I was just noticing all of the architectural diversity and all of the interesting houses surrounding us. So um, that definitely spurred it. And also, I follow a lot of similar accounts in other cities, like in Columbus and Cleveland and Detroit, Pittsburgh. There are even some in Youngstown that are really popular. And so, like, one day I think I just looked it up, like, is there an Akron one? And there wasn't. So I felt like it was my duty to make one. And I'm
Awesome.
surprised that how many people have been also interested in it, and I think have like similar interests as me. It's definitely something Akronites are passionate about and care about, so it's really cool.
For sure. I know when we were talking, I did tell you that I love like kind of the Tudor style houses that are around Highland Square. Like I pass by it on my way to work a bunch, and there's like days where I'm like, I just kind of want to like go through these neighborhoods and just look at these houses because they're very interesting, very different than houses that you see in Columbus or other places in Ohio. So yeah, totally. That being said, what do you think makes the houses in Akron special and, different than houses that you see on pages for like Cleveland or Columbus?
Um, I mean, I think it's very similar to like Cleveland for sure in terms of like the diversity, but it's extremely like dense diversity wise. Like on the same block, you will see a Tudor style house, Georgian colonial revival, a Italian Renaissance revival, sometimes a modern house. And so it makes like taking walks and drives a lot more interesting. But definitely the thing that's the most special about our houses in Akron is that they were all in some way or another, most of them, the vast majority of them, come trace themselves back to the rubber industry in some way. So whether they were in West Akron, it's of course a lot of executive mansions. A lot of them were built by rubber executives and inventors and engineers and stuff like that. in Firestone Park and Goodyear Heights, they were mostly occupied by the rubber factory workers. So the rubber factories built them for the workers. A lot of them are like kit homes, and which is really neat too. But yeah, it's really cool because if you research basically any house, at some point you'll find a connection to the rubber industry, which I love. There are a couple of older ones, that were farms and stuff, but it's really tied in with that, which I love.
Interesting. So kind of speaking about the history of these houses, were you able to like research these houses for Akron? Because it's not the most common thing that people are looking. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go look up the history of my neighbor's house today. I know that the internet makes it a lot easier, but like you, I know for you it was, but yeah. Where is there a process? Like, how do you go about researching the history of Akron?
Yeah, the library has a really good resource for people who are interested in looking up their own house. It's a nice little PDF that is super easy to follow if you have an interest in looking up your own house. It basically is like you can look through the tax records, you can look through old city directories that go back hundreds of years or 100 something years, and you can just control F and like search your address or search a name or a business. But the majority of what I find is through the newspaper archives, which they are available through the library, but I use a service called newspapers.com, which is like a paid service. It's reasonable though, but it's amazing how much they reported on back in the day. Like, it was totally like their Facebook back in the day. Like, everything, they reported on everything, like people having brunch at their house or going to Lake Como for vacation or whatever, like anything, especially the people with the money that had these interesting houses, and they always reported their address. So I get a lot of it from that, and yeah, just the tax record website. I've had a surprising amount of people reach out to me about their own houses and provide like photos and background too, which is cool. But it's crazy how much you can find, especially like during that period when they were just reporting on everything.
Yeah, for sure. Very interesting. So kind of like you said before, if people are looking for a house, they can use these resources to, learn more about the houses that they're looking at. Do you have any tips for anybody who's looking for a house in Akron? Not that that's me. I'm very far from that, but I'm sure there's some people watching this that are definitely interested.
Yes. I'm not a realtor. In fact, my page is very much like lighthearted and jokey, and like sometimes I get a little political and snarky, but it's not really like the best time probably for buyers to be looking. Things are kind of rough right now for buyers. There isn't a lot on the market. But I would definitely say not to be afraid of these old houses. They seem to be like desirable in Akron for sure. People our age really want old houses with charm and stuff. But one of the things that's been really cool to me about having this account is I always would say to my husband when we'd be walking the dog and stuff, like, who is going to take care of these big old mansions in our neighborhood of our age? Like, we're all minimalists and we don't like stuff. And so and it seems like since I've started this page, that I can tell people really do actually care about these houses a lot and care about preserving them. So I don't think that's a true problem, but definitely don't be afraid of an old house. Old houses are the best.
For sure.
But as far as actual like shopping around right now, I would say just be patient. I think it's gonna change, hopefully.
Yeah, I will say I've seen a bunch of. I definitely get the don't be afraid of old houses. I've seen a lot of things on Twitter is just people being like, why would you do this? And it's just like a perfectly good old house, and then you see like the remodel that somebody did, and it's like completely worse and it just doesn't fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. And I never understood what people did that. But yeah, do you think there's kind of a stigma when it comes to old houses? Because I know when I think old house, I think lots of care, probably a lot of maintenance or updating things because, you know, pipes can be old and things like that. Do you think that that's, you're nodding, so I feel like, is it like a valid thought
Yeah,
or?
there's definitely a truth to that like money pit stereotype, uh, but it's so worth it. Most of my friends who have bought houses in Akron end up buying old houses, and I like to kind of joke that it's like it's a greater purpose, it's a bigger duty. It's like we're preserving something important. So it's not just about how it looks or how it functions. It's also about like taking care of something for so it lasts another 100 years or whatever. Um, and like when you think of it like that and then assign it like sort of this greater purpose, it makes it easier to spend thousands of dollars all the time on maintenance. But I don't like to put too much pressure on that. Like the exterior, yes, I think it's important to maintain like the charm and not change too much. But um, make your house inside what you like and don't put too much pressure on making it authentic because that could be really stressful.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
don't clear out too much cool stuff. Keep a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite house that you've looked at, or is there like a particular story that you found out when you were doing your research that you liked, or is there one that's one and one that's the other?
Yeah, I have a lot of favorites now. I've only had this account now for like 2 months, but I think I've already covered like 60 houses. So I have a lot of favorites. In terms of like probably my favorite like archetypical Akron house is the Anchorage, which is on Merriman Road. It was built by Paul Litchfield, who is an early Akron Goodyear CEO and president. He invented a lot of stuff. He was a big name in our town and really helped to develop Goodyear. He built the Anchorage on Merriman Road, and it's like 10,000 square feet. It's a crazy, huge, beautiful Tudor revival. Um, they call it mini Stan Hewitt, even though it's not that mini because it's 10,000 square feet. But um, it's really, really cool. It's just the perfect like Akron snapshot. Like besides Stan Hewitt, it really encapsulates because it was built by like a rubber exec and it has all these hallmark Tudor features. But I've definitely been getting more and more into like the modern style houses probably because I'm living in Tudor myself and I'm getting kind of bored of it. Um, or just like I don't know, it's just kind of more unexpected in Akron to see modern and mid-century modern houses. So I posted one recently in Fairlawn Heights that uh, on Stockbridge that was built by a Cleveland architect named William Morris, who was heavily influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright. And it was built, I think, in 1970, but it's super just like sleek and geometric and like all sorts of glass. And it's beautiful. That's probably my favorite house, like if I'm being honest, but I love like the Anchorage and a lot of these houses up and down Merriman Road and Portage Paths from like an Akron historian standpoint. Um, they're very important to our town, but there are some surprising modern houses that I think people don't realize. They're just kind of hidden.
Interesting. So you've mentioned before this isn't like what you do for a living. You're a journalist. You write. You did at least you do marketing now. But how does this will differ from your day job? Do you talk about houses on like in your regular everyday life, or is this definitely more on the hobby side?
Definitely on the hobby side. I I work for an agency, so we cover every industry. I mean, like some days I'm writing about literally like hot glue gun, like industrial glue guns and stuff, and some days I'm writing about fashion and a lot of days I'm writing about home decor and home improvement. Um, but I'm being assigned work and I don't get to choose what writing about. So this is definitely more of like a hobby type stuff. When quarantine first happened, I had more free time to write and found myself writing about houses. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what I meant to write about.
Sure. All right, I know that COVID restrictions means this is probably a no, but like, have you ever visited like the houses in person? Do you wish you could go inside of them and just kind of walk around these homes you've like read so much about?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, some of them I have visited just from like knowing the people who own them, or, of course, have been to San Hewitt and stuff, and the ones that are available to tour. Um, but a lot of them are like either just in the archives of like the Summit County Historical Society or like on Zillow, and their private residences are not public. So I haven't gotten to tour all of them, haven't gotten to tour most of them, but I would really love to. My husband and I did get to we went to Ann Arbor a couple weeks ago and stayed in a Frank Lloyd Wright house, which was super, super cool. Um, Not in Akron house, but just the experience of it was so immersive to just stand in one of these like really important, cool houses. So I would definitely love to be able to tour more.
All right. I guess my last question is because you said that you like a lot of the houses that the older houses in Akron are from the big rubber industry boom back when, it was the big Akron thing. Do you notice any like similar histories with houses, or like has the same person, have you seen somebody and then they built a house and then they moved and made another house somewhere else, or
Yeah,
something like any like really interesting stories, I guess?
there are people who kind of got into like developing during that boom. Um, there was, there is one architect, Roy G. Firestone, who has built a lot of houses in West Akron, a couple in Carolyn Heights, mostly in like Highland Square and Merriman Hills neighborhoods. But he was a prominent architect during that period, and it seems like a lot of the sort of wealthier people hired him. And he's become like a little bit of a hero on our page because everyone loves his houses. But he designed like 200 houses in Akron. But yeah, there are a couple. There was like a couple of uh, rubber barons, rubber baron sons or kids who became architects and developed a couple around town. Um, yeah, it's cool to look into the different individual architects and architectural firms because they made such an imprint on our neighborhoods. But I can't think of any specific like developers right now or individuals. They do recur though. Like I've seen like one guy who built a house on Delaware Avenue who like earlier resided in a important house on Merriman Road, and like it's just like these like rich people from that era lived in all the nice houses. I don't know.
All right, for sure. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. Do you want to plug your page real quick?
Sure. So it's just Akron Houses on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook page yet, but maybe I will make one, and just like cross post. But thank you so much for having me. This is my first interview ever doing, so I am very honored.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. It was really interesting to learn more about Akron since I didn't grow up here, but it just kind of was like, wow, these houses. It was really eye-opening, and I learned a lot. So I'm sure
I'm
our
glad
audience
that you
definitely
are moving
agree.
here. I'm glad you're moving
Mhm.
here, people of your age, and I'm glad that you notice our houses and care about
Of
them.
course. All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming and talking to me, and I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.